Folks, we're going to talk more about that Wisconsin game later on in the show, but before we get to that, it's time for the Rumor-O-Meter. Now, for those of you that haven't seen this segment before, you're going to see a bunch of Harbaugh heads. Here's what that means. When you don't see any Harbaugh heads, that means this rumor is totally false. 1 Harbaugh head means there's a small shred of truth. 2 Harbaugh heads means the people are talking. 3 Harbaughs means it's pretty likely. And 4 Harbaugh heads means it's a fact, F-A-C-K, fact. So we will start then with our first rumor. Sorry, go ahead, James.
Nothing, my bad, man. I was just going to say, Jim Harbaugh says fact. He says F-A-C-K. That's how we spell on this show. I don't want any of these Webster Dictionary people coming in and acting we're spelling something wrong. This is how Jim Harbaugh told us to spell it, and that's how we're going to spell it from now until eternity.
All right, folks, let's get into our first rumor that Lavert Hill, the star corner, will not play against Wisconsin. James, you've given it 3 Harbaughs.
Yeah, Tom, unfortunately, this one looks pretty likely that Lavert Hill is not going to play this week. If it was against Ohio State, I'd be freaking out. And maybe they're holding him for Ohio State knowing that Wisconsin is not one of these, pass the ball or spread style offenses where you need your most experienced players in one-on-one situations. So it sounds like Ambry Thomas, the true freshman, is going to get the start unless something drastically changes between, now and 11 o'clock Central Time tomorrow in Madison, Wisconsin. And so Ambry Thomas has come on much of late. We've heard him getting some offensive reps, which hasn't happened yet. He's returned some kicks, Tom, and I'm excited to see what he does. It's a bummer that Hill is out, but even if you lose this game versus Wisconsin, if you hold Hill out and he can go near 100% versus Ohio State, I think that increases your chance of winning that game, which, frankly, at the end of the day, unless Michigan's winning the Big Ten title, which is very slim at this point, you need a lot of losses that you don't control, and Michigan needs to win out against 2 top 7 teams. I would hold your best players down for a week and get them back versus Ohio State, which it seems like they're going to do with Hill, who's been in the concussion protocol, Tom, and as of yesterday had not been given the clearance to play.
So you saw 3 Harbaughs there. That means it's pretty likely. Once again, 0 is totally false. 1 is a small shred of truth. 2 means the people are talking. 3 is pretty likely, and 4 is a fact, F-A-C-K. We'll now get to our next rumor, James. Michigan's going to wear an alternate reverse helmet against Ohio State. We have the photo of it up now, James. What does this mean? Looks like James is a little not there right now. So this is kind of the leaked version of the alternate helmet there. The blue and yellow have been switched over. James has it as 2 Harbaugh heads. Means that the people are talking, not necessarily that it's an accurate rumor, just that there's been enough buzz that we want to mention it here. I'm curious what everyone thinks about this helmet, so get your reactions in the comments section. I'll be honest, I'm curious to hear James's reaction when he first sent me over the idea of it. I'm like, oh, I kind of want to see what this looks like, but looking at it now, frankly, I'm not much of a huge fan here with the blue and yellow reversed. I don't think it's a great idea there, so we'll see if we have James back here. So James, what do you make of this, and what are the details on this rumor?
Yeah, so Tom, it was put out there on the internet message boards in the last 3 or 4 days. It was immediately shot down as just total, this is BS, this is no good. But then, Tom, I heard about it from somebody who I think knows some things and talks to people who would have this kind of information from the Nike side, and they said they're going to do another uniform this year, and that got me, really peaked up. And I started looking around, and it was then verified again on a similar message board, one of these pay sites, by someone who all the people there think he's an insider, has some sort of information. This is like the world of usernames, Tom, that is from a day's past, but this is still what goes on with these message boards. And I was told initially it's just the helmets, but now, Tom, I'm hearing if they do it, and Jim Harbaugh still has not made the final decision, if they do it, it's not only going to be alternative helmets, they're going to flip-flop the pants and the helmet, Tom. So Michigan will wear maize jerseys and blue pants, which is inverse what they normally wear, the maize pants and the blue jerseys. So you're basically going to see the entire uniform colors flip-flop, Tom. The reverse winged helmet with maize as the primary color and blue as the wings. A maize jersey, the same one they wore against Florida. And then blue pants, which they've only wore a couple times in school history, most notably a few years back when they played Penn State under the lights.
All right, folks, before we get to our next rumor, I want to see what you guys think of this helmet in particular, focused only on the helmet there. We have a reaction poll. I'm curious what you all think about this, and I want to see those votes come in to get us an idea of how you guys are going to vote with this. Our reaction poll is this. What do you think of the rumored Michigan alternate helmet? Throw us up a love if you love it. You can give us a wow if you do not like it at all. We'll get to the reaction poll first, then we'll get to some of your comments as well. So again, folks, the love is that you, again, love the helmet. The wow face is means okay, it's okay for rare use. Only wear it like one time, but then I don't want to see it again. A wow face means you do not like it, and an angry face is that you think it's the worst thing ever. The comments were mostly no, no, no. So I want to see what these reactions are, because sometimes the reactions in the commenters, I see some disconnect there in terms of things. We'll get to some of those comments as well. I see quite a few angry faces, some laughy faces, more like, okay, you can wear it one time. We'll see what the reaction there is. Stephen Douglas says no, 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 no on the helmet. I actually see some conflicting results here coming across on that reaction poll. I think it's pretty split almost across the board there. I like this comment from Isaiah saying hail no. I think that's pretty funny right there. So Isaiah says hail no. Nick Hambright says that he wants the all maize jerseys. So keep the comments and the reactions flowing. Again, very interesting to see kind of the differences there. Ruth says no. So again, more comments here flowing in. We'll go back to Nick and for another one here. That Ruth says no on the helmet. Some interesting comments here flowing in. I'm hoping I'm going to get this name right here after Nick's comment is that Mano says no on the helmet. Rodney Davis says one time and one time only. Ralph Byers says that he actually loves the change. And now we're getting more positive comments here with some yeses from Trevor and yeses from Gassan. Hopefully I got all your guys' names right there. All right, folks, back to the rumor meter now. What this means is if you see 0 Harbaughs, it's totally false. 1 Harbaugh is a small shred of truth. 2 Harbaughs means the people are talking. 3 means it's pretty likely. And 4 Harbaughs means an FACK fact. Let's get now to our final rumor meter, James, that Harbaugh and Wisconsin coach Paul Chryst share notes in the offseason. You've given it 3 Harbaughs.
Tom, it's pretty likely. So, read about this last year a little bit when Michigan was playing Wisconsin, October 1st, 2016, a 14-7 win, when Michigan was in the top 5 in the country, and kind of just like didn't really pay much attention to it. But as I talked to some people this week and then looked into it a little deeper myself, it seems pretty likely. And this is kind of, it's emulated from the deep parts of the internet that Harbaugh and Paul Chryst have been sharing, coaching tips with each other for decades, Tom. And so if you go back, and as recently as this summer, right? So if you go back and look at their history, which we will here, they have basically been intertwined since before they were born. So Jim Harbaugh's dad, Tom, was coaching with the head coach. Was teammate to the head coach at Wisconsin back in the 50s. That went on to coach Paul Chryst, and then we'll put this up. You tell me if we've got the graphic on screen, but it's been nonstop. So I think, Tom, that this is pretty likely, and it's interesting that they almost run the same program with maybe Wisconsin being a little bit more heavy on the run than Michigan is typically. They run the same style of defense, Tom. They run a run-first offense, and then they can pass it when they need to, but they certainly don't try and run anything spread. And they are probably the 2 most, pro-style offense, or what you think of typical pro-style offenses as you have in the entire Big Ten, if not the country. So 1959, the coach who would eventually become the coach at Wisconsin, Dave McClain, he's Jim's dad. He's Jim's dad's teammate at Bowling Green in Ohio, a little Maction, Tom. He goes out, head coach at Wisconsin, recruits Paul Chryst. Paul Chryst comes in and plays quarterback under him for a year. McClain actually passed away after Paul Chryst's freshman year. They had another coach for 3 or 4 years, and then Barry Alvarez came in and coached after 1990. 1986, Harbaugh and Chryst face each other. Now, Chryst was never the starting quarterback there, but he was on the sideline as the backup quarterback. 1906 when a number 4 Michigan went into Wisconsin and got the 34-17 win. And then, it goes for a little while, and you kind of pop ahead several years, and you get a little more intertwined with how these guys live their life. So let me kind of pop up to this one. 1991 to 1993, Tom, Jeep Chryst, who's Paul's who is Paul's brother,
Awful
is
name.
an offensive coach. I don't know what his exact title was. Yeah, great name, I think. Offensive coach in the Chicago Bears. Who's their starting quarterback? None other than Jim Harbaugh. Huh, interesting. You go back 6 years later, Tom, and this is where it gets crazy. Jeep is the offensive coordinator for the Chargers. Paul is the tight ends coach for the Chargers. They've got second-year quarterback Ryan Leaf as their starter, but they bring in Harbaugh, who wins the starting job in '99 and half of 2000 over Ryan Leaf. And Jeep and Paul are his offensive coaches, which I think is pretty crazy. Fast forward a decade later, Tom. Jim hires Jeep to serve as his quarterbacks coach for 4 seasons at the 49ers, where we saw the resurgence of Alex Smith and then really a couple years of dominance from Colin Kaepernick before Jim went on to Michigan, including a Super Bowl appearance. So 2013, while Harbaugh's at the 49ers, Jeep's son Keller commits to Stanford, where Jim used to coach, where most of his former coaches still are, including friend of the program David Shaw. So very interesting to say the least there. And then within 2 weeks of each other in December 2014, Harbaugh and Chryst both take head coaching jobs at their respective alma maters. In their second season last year, 6th game of the year, an undefeated battle of top 10 teams, Michigan got the victory. And one last one, Tom, that I thought was pretty interesting. Jeep's son, Keller, who is now at Stanford, he started for a couple years, but it's kind of in and out of the starting lineup right now. He got benched recently. He had the same high school coach at Palo Alto High School that Jim did, almost 32 years prior. So that guy was there forever. So I think it's just a small little note. So I think these guys know each other like the back of their hands. And with that, Tom, I am predicting a score you'll never see predicted in a Michigan football game. James Yoder will predict here right at the end of this game. It's something the likes of the world has never seen.
We will discuss that later. I kind of thought you were kidding, and I was waiting for your actual score to come in, but I guess not. So once again, folks, I'm
real
Tom
score,
Downey.
Tom.
Alongside me is James Yoder, the Michigan Football Insider. If you haven't already, subscribe and get the Michigan Football Report video podcast at chatsports.com/GoBlue. James, it is a fantastic podcast.
Thank you. And Tom, we're working hard at it. It's been consistently in the top 10 for sports video podcasts on iTunes. And with your support, we're going to keep it there. So go ahead and everybody go to that URL. If you have an iPhone, it'll take you right to the podcast. You press subscribe. We'll let you know every time there's a new episode.